Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing. Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
All right, well, good afternoon, Mid-Michigan. Happy Monday. I hope your weekend was great, and I hope you're getting the month of November off to a great start as well. Well, we are coming to you with this First Alert forecast update brought to you by Lockhart Roofing for the rest of this Monday, and we're also talking a little bit of a bigger weather headline for later on this week. So that's something that we'll be getting into here in this update. I'll just say, if you like winter, I think you'll like where this update is going. Now, first, let's actually talk about what we have out there so far right now. A much different story than earlier this morning. Our conditions are much drier now. We are tracking plenty of sun for the rest of today. Just a couple of fair weather clouds in the mix at times, kind of like we're seeing there in Birch Run, but otherwise we are expecting just some fairly easygoing fall conditions for the rest of this Monday outside of the breeze, though. And you may notice that here, this Birch Run camera, this is along I-75. It is shaking around just a little bit in the wind. We are going to be tracking a bit of a gusty afternoon. So this is our wind gust trend for the rest of the day, especially up until dinner time. We expect wind gusts to reach up to about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So I do want to first alert you to that. Perhaps maybe if you still have some Halloween decorations out and you're starting to put those away here after the holiday, well, today is still going to be somewhat gusty, so definitely something to keep in mind too for any inflatable decorations that you still may have out as well. But after dinner time, we see those gusts coming back down to about 25 miles per hour, and then those gusts are essentially going to hold on at about 25 miles per hour as we go throughout the upcoming overnight, and then gusts will also essentially hold at that same level too as we go into tomorrow. And you may notice the leaf drop picking up a little bit more. I do think today, especially after today with this wind and the rain that we had earlier this morning, we're going to even have a little bit more of a significant leaf drop here. So if you do still have some yard cleanup to do, this is definitely going to be where things pick up as we go throughout this week, especially even this afternoon and evening, just given the conditions that we've had so far today. But we'll go ahead and take a look at our countdown here, what we have coming up in the next month or two. Veterans Day, that's on Tuesday next week, and then we have Thanksgiving just 24 days away. So hard to believe that Thanksgiving is just about 3.5 weeks away. Now, for our winter sporting enthusiasts, specifically our snowmobilers too, well, the trails open here in less than a month, December 1st as always. So we are hoping that we do have a good snowy start to the season, and then Christmas just 52 days away from now as well. So now that Halloween is past and we've had the time change this past weekend too, I think things are really going to feel like they're speeding up for us too. Now take a look here at our sunset for this evening, 5:23. Yesterday that sunset was about 5:24 to 5:25, just depends on where exactly you are in our viewing area. But 5:23 for tonight, we're still losing about 2.5 minutes of daylight here. Our next 6 p.m. sunset won't be until February 10th. So from here, really for about the next 3 months or so, we're pretty much locked into these 5 o'clock sunsets. So just a really par for the course at this time of year. So not only will it start to look a little bit more like late fall, it's going to start to feel like it more too, just with these earlier sunsets. But one of the big stories here in our forecast as we go forward is the first chance of snow showers in our area. It's coming up here in the forecast. Now, this is something that we'll be watching closely, but that chance is for this weekend. Essentially what we're expecting here in our forecast is we have a cooler pattern setting up, especially as we go into the weekend. So another cold front moves through on Friday. That cold front is really going to bring in quite a bit of cool air from the north, from Canada, and that's going to put us on the cooler side also of a low pressure system that's passing by this weekend. So it's actually that low that's bringing us that chance for a few snow showers to mix in. And right off the bat here, I do just want to let you know that we don't expect this to be a very significant snowfall by any means, but at the very least, we should be able to see some snow showers actually mixing in with some rain, or possibly an early day snow transitioning to more of a day or an afternoon rainfall. We're kind of at that time of year where the time of day and the temperatures really dictate the type of precipitation that we're going to see. So that's what could play out on Saturday night going into Sunday as well. So as we go throughout this week, we'll definitely be ironing out some of those forecast details a little bit more. But again, our first chance for some of those snowflakes this season coming in for this upcoming weekend. If you are someone who definitely enjoys more of the winter sporting like skiing or snowmobiling, or you just like to see that first snow of the season as well, always exciting times. Well, definitely we do have that coming up here in the forecast. Now, we are going to take just a quick break here real quickly, but coming up after this break, we will be really going into the meat and potatoes of that snow chance in the forecast. We'll talk some climatological statistics, and we'll take a sneak peek of that hour by hour too, just to at least get a general guideline of how things are looking as of right now. So we'll see you right back here after the break. Alrighty, welcome back from the break. We are talking about that first chance of snow for the season coming up here for this weekend. So again, if you like the snow, definitely something exciting to look forward to here in the forecast. Now let's take a look at some of our statistics here. So this is going back the last 5 years when we see our first measurable snowfall. Now for Saginaw and Flint, and Saginaw specifically, these records are coming from MBS Airport, and for Flint, they're coming from Bishop Airport, so that's where the official climate reporting stations are for mid-Michigan that report to the National Weather Service. Well, these dates are actually fairly similar between both locations. You'll notice that if they aren't the same day, they're generally within about a day or two of each other, other than 2020. And that was just a temperature difference there. So Flint, it took about 2 weeks longer to see that first measurable snowfall. But a measurable snow is officially defined as 1/10 of an inch or greater. So a trace, which is essentially kind of a dusting, that technically does not count as a measurable snowfall. What happens at the airports by those weather sensors is they have what's called a snowboard. It's pretty much just a white or painted white board on the ground, and that's what the snow falls on, and then that's what the snow is measured upon as well. So on that snowboard at the airports, they need to be able to measure at least 1/10 of an inch of fresh snowfall for it to be able to count as a measurable snow. Well, in the last 5 years, you'll notice 2023 was a little bit of an exception there, Halloween, and you may remember that Halloween 2 years ago, we did pick up some snow, and that actually did set some snowfall records for us too for the Halloween holiday. But most of these dates are generally in the month of November, and especially for Flint, they're generally right around mid-November as well. One way you can kind of think about it here is that as we head towards the beginning of firearm deer season, that's kind of when you can start to expect at least some talk of snow showers in the first alert forecast. So, so far this is actually kind of playing out well, because as we go into the weekend, those dates are going to be the 8th and the 9th. So we're getting close to about those averages. In fact, that 5-year average, so averaging out those dates that I just showed you, in Saginaw, that's November 12th, and then in Flint, that is November 14th. Now, the long-term average, so for Saginaw, that goes back to 1912. It's November 16th. And then for Flint, that period of record is since 1921. So the record books go back more than 100 years for both locations. You can see that 5-year average actually does hold pretty close to that period of record average as well. But also just an interesting statistic here, the earliest snowfall recorded, measurable snowfall recorded for both areas in that span of time was October 12th, 2006, and then the latest occurrence was actually in 1948. It was December 19th in Flint and then December 20th in Saginaw. But as things are going right now with our forecast for the upcoming weekend, I think we'll definitely be far away from that latest date. We're definitely well past the earliest date as well. So I think things are actually going to shake out fairly close to that average for when we would typically see that first snowfall of the year. And taking a look at our average seasonal snowfall too. So this is for each month of the winter, all added up for the Great Lakes Bay region, which is for the MBS airport record as well. That moving average, it's a 30-year moving average. 1991 to 2020, that average is 49 inches for the entire winter season. And then for Flint, it's 52.1 inches for the entire winter season. Now, when was the last time since 2020, or rather since 2000 especially, since we've had a winter that had snowfall that was above that average? Well, for the Great Lakes Bay region, it was actually almost 10 years ago. It was the 2015 to 2016 winter, and it was just 1 inch above that average at 50 inches. And then for the Flint area, it was actually somewhat more recently, the 2021 to 2022 winter, and that was at 60.5 inches. Now, part of the difference there between the two spots, even though they're only separated by approximately 30 miles or so, is that in that winter, 2021 to 2022, we did have some systems that passed by and specifically more so just clipped our southern counties, so Flint especially, so that's why that number there is a little bit skewed. And that was actually my first winter working here at TV5 as well, so I do remember that. We had a couple of those snowfall events that reached up towards Flint and some of our southern spots too, like Owasso and Lapeer, but they really weren't able to reach at least as far north to, say, the Saginaw area or the Northern Thumb, and especially our northern counties as well. So it has been, especially for the Saginaw area, about 10 years since we've had a winter that did see above average snowfall. And if you remember the last couple of winters too, especially the 2023 to 2024 winter, that was the one where we had that seasonal record for the lowest snowfall. That was that winter that was realistically actually pretty mild. We only had about 2 weeks in January that actually felt like winter. Last winter did start to at least get us a little bit more back towards that classic winter feeling again. We did have some snow, especially right off the bat, especially up north in northern Michigan. There was a fairly significant lake effect event right at the start of the season, especially right around Thanksgiving. It was just after Thanksgiving, so that went into early December. But we'll go ahead and take a look here at the first alert hour by hour for the upcoming weekend. Now, first for Saturday, we do still expect a dry or mostly dry day on Saturday. Could see just an isolated lingering shower, but realistically, I do think most of our area will still be dry for the entire day. And as we fast forward in the hour by hour too, I also want to preface the fact that I do think this specific run of the first alert hour by hour is actually slightly overdoing the extent of snowfall. I think it has a little bit too much cold air actually mixing in, but it still at least gives us that general idea that as that low comes in by Saturday night and then into Sunday morning, we're very much going to be catching the colder side of that system. So that right there on your screen is about 5 in the morning on Sunday, and then even as we fast forward towards noon on Sunday too. Now this right here is where I do think it is starting to overdo at least how long some of those snow showers will stick around, because we're still calling for a high of about 42 on Sunday afternoon. So even by the late morning, we should have temps in the upper 30s. So I think at that point, we would start to transition back to rainfall. So that's where we could see that scenario where we start off with snow showers early in the morning and then going back to rain showers towards lunch and for the afternoon. But still, it does paint the picture here that we are on the cooler side of this system as we go into the weekend. And then by Sunday evening and night, a northwest wind comes in behind that system, and that's going to kick up some lake effect as well. So even into early next week, I think we will be starting off the week with some colder conditions. I'll show you this here in the first alert 7-day forecast too, just kind of painting that picture for the weekend so far. And again, these are still days 6 and 7 on the 7-day forecast. So we do have some more details to iron out going through the week, but just that general idea for now is first, it will be a cool weekend regardless. 45 currently for the high on Saturday, and then 42 currently for that high on Sunday. But there we are going into Sunday where we do have some of those snow showers trying to mix in to the forecast. One important thing to remember too, especially given that it is still only the beginning of November, is that we are definitely battling ground temperatures. So this snow, if it is able to move in on Sunday morning, or even if we see some snow mixing in with some rain, it very much is going to have a tough time sticking to the ground, because a lot of our ground temps, even right now, are still in the mid to upper 40s. So we need a lot of cold nights, and then especially those colder days this weekend to bring those ground temps down a little bit more. But if everything holds pretty much as we're seeing it now in the forecast, I do think our most realistic, most likely scenario is that Sunday morning we're waking up to at least a light dusting of snow on some bushes or shrubs, or if your car is parked outside, you could see a light coating of snow on your car and any patio furniture too, say a patio table. I think that's where you could possibly see some snow sticking to it on Sunday morning. And if it does end up playing out like that, then it could technically end up playing out as that first measurable snow of the year. So again, that puts us towards mid-November, at least early to mid-November, so it does put us generally pretty close to that average for when we should expect to see something like this. So again, I do think that we are going to at least have some potential for this still holding on in the forecast all week. If this does happen to go away in the forecast, it would more so be because of that low shifting away from us. And that's kind of like that rain chance we had last week, where initially it was looking rainier, but then Hurricane Melissa was actually pulling that system away from us. So we ended up really just getting clipped in the eastern thumb by a few showers. So if we see that chance going down for the weekend, I think more so it would be because of that, just the placement of that low. Regardless, though, I would expect a cooler weekend ahead of us, and that's all going to be kicked off by the cold front for this upcoming Friday. But until Friday, and I'll show you that 7-day again, decent chance of scattered showers on Friday because of the cold front, but up until then, it is still more or less a fairly quiet forecast. We have this windy afternoon, then just partly cloudy skies tomorrow and only a few isolated showers on Wednesday, and then we have some increasing cloud coverage coming in on Thursday, all leading up to that cold front on Friday and then that cooler weekend. So at least things are definitely feeling like they're changing up a little bit more in the forecast, like we're really starting to make that turn towards some colder weather ahead, especially by the colder nights that we've been having too. And for this weekend, with that chance of snow trying to mix in with the rain on Sunday, those temperatures should be right at around freezing, 30 to about 32 degrees. So I think that Sunday chance is also going to be very temperature dependent as well. That's all we have in the forecast for you here for this Monday afternoon update. So again, definitely stay tuned here in the forecast, because we are going to be ironing out more of those details as we go forward through the week. And if anything changes, we will absolutely let you know. But if you do like the snow and you like the winter, well, certainly something exciting to look forward to here as we go throughout the week. But we'll check in again a little bit later, and you can tune in at 4 o'clock right on air on TV5. We'll have Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick there also giving you an update on that extended forecast too. Well, have a good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.